What's up, everybody? Welcome to EDM Chatters, the news show covering everything that's been happening in our industry this week. From brand new tracks to sensational stories and topics that matter, we're here to fill you in.
I, of course, am one of your hosts, Vincent Beck here, producer here at EDM Matters, and with me, as always, is the LA Beard guy, the sushi god himself, Matthew Meadow.
We're still plugging the sushi god.
Yeah, and we're growing the brand, dude.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
taking the steps.
We're plugging away. I don't know about you, but this week has been slow for news, but insane for music. I've been more busy this week writing music than I have in any other week in quarantine.
That's a good thing, right?
I'd say it's a good thing. I'm keeping busy. I got a lot to listen to, but I mean, I was talking to you guys yesterday about this, and everybody from Major Lazer, Zedd, SLANDER, Illenium, Skrillex, Blanke, Chami, Eric Prydz, Seven Lions, everybody has been dropping music, especially this week. And
Mike Tyson of all people,
even fucking Mike Tyson. We'll be talking about that in a bit, but. I mean, It's just been absolutely insane. And I think it's a lot to do with us getting to the end of the year and everybody just needing to drop tracks. It's just a race to the finish. Everyone's looking forward to 2021. And I was talking to a friend. We're going to get more into this later. But I was talking to a friend about people dropping music. And he mentioned that because there are so few live shows happening, everyone is just dropping sort of their their lesser tracks. And that really brings us into our first topic of the day. And today is a special episode of EDM Chatters because it's an all music episode.
Woo! All music, baby.
All music. No news. Nothing happened this week. Forget about it. Just nothing happened. All music. So the first, piece of music we want to talk about is the Major Lazer album, Music is the Weapon. This has been one that we've sort of anticipated for the last 2 years. It's a follow-up to their last album, Peace is the Mission. So we now have Peace is the Mission, Music is the Weapon. And I listened to this, and I started listening, what's today, Saturday? So yeah, yesterday. And I got about 2 or 3 tracks in, and I heavily considered just turning it off and not finishing it because this was such a disappointing album.
I concur.
Like I just kind of let that sit for a little bit. Like this was when Major Lazer dropped Lean On in 2015 on their album. That was a visionary track. It broke records all over the world. It brought DJ Snake and Mo together. It brought Diplo. It was a massive track. And now we have a collection of just really middle of the road, really safe tracks. And I don't know why. Like obviously Diplo has a lot to offer. He's in a bunch of different projects right now. He's got LSD with Sia and Labyrinth. He's got Silk City with Mark Ronson. He's doing country. He's doing ambient. He's doing house. But somehow he can't get one of his oldest projects right. I mean, I'm sure in his mind he did a great job. But listening to it as a reviewer, as a critic, there's just nothing interesting about this album. It's so safe. There's a lack of dynamics. Like it's all sort of the same beat, all the same rhythm, all the same volume, except for maybe 2 or 3 tracks, 2 of which were already released as singles. So, I mean, you ask me, did you listen to the Major Lazer album? And did I really listen to it? No. Like there was nothing to really listen to. I don't know. What do you think about it? Because I know we share a bit of the same opinion. I could keep rattling on about this, but I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, just like you said, it's a very safe album, which is kind of disappointing. And knowing the fact that Diplo has several other like side projects, and kind of his main one is kind of a snoozer of an album.
Yeah.
There aren't any groundbreaking tracks or like sounds. It's just kind of like it's just all the same. It's just the same thing for 12 tracks through. In my opinion,
it's 34 minutes of monotony, really.
Yeah. Kind of just the same, just percussion, instrumentation, with some type of vocal, just like auto-tuning, upper layer, laid down upon that, percussion. And it's just kind of like he kind of, I don't know. I don't know. Did Diplo just like phone this in? Did Major Lazer just phone this?
It feels like it, but I mean,
just to like,
I can't. But I mean, despite all that, I can't knock the features like Alessia Cara, Busy Signal, French Montana, Nicki Minaj, Khalid, Marcus Mumford from Mumford and Sons, Skip Marley, Nuclea, J Balvin. Like, it's got great features, but that seems to be the only saving grace of the album. That oh, look at all the people we got to work on it. Like, okay, did it feels here we go. It feels like a group project that Diplo really didn't work on. He just kind of got all the parts from everybody else last minute. Was like, I need to do something with these, and just kind of went like, well, this sounds like Major Lazer. This sounds like Major Lazer, and just kind of threw it all together. But I don't know, man. It was disappointing. Like, I talked to a lot of people after listening to it. It was like, Major Lazer's still relevant. Like, don't get me wrong, their live sets are really fun, but listening to them at home, not something I would ever choose to do. But Zedd, on the other hand, I go back to his True Colors album regularly because that was such a good piece of work. But over the past couple of years, he's definitely transitioned into more of a pop producer. And that's fine. That's totally fine. It's just there's been a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Denial is the closest thing I can think of without ruining the flow of the episode. There's been a lot of denial about his status. Like, we all want him to get back to his electro house roots, or at least give us a little bit more electro influence like he did on True Colors. I mean, for God's sake, he worked with John Bellion, Selena Gomez, and Troye Sivan, but still, it was a wonderfully electronic album. On this new song, Inside Out with Griff, we have to ask ourselves, like, is he really even EDM anymore? This is just another sort of pop song from him, just like Funny with Jasmine Thompson, just like a Good Thing with Kehlani. And I don't know, man. It's the same sort of mental block that I have to get over with Major Lazer. Like, is Zedd worth caring about anymore? And I really want to say yes. He's a nice guy. He obviously knows his stuff. I'm still waiting for his next album. But Inside Out, I mean, it's going to get added to playlists. It's Zedd. But we put it on ours because it's Zedd. But again, I don't know if I'm going to be listening to this ever again.
Yeah, I mean, I took a listen to it, during the day, and it just, there's a drop in there. It's got the Zedd synth, drop stab in it, but it's just kind of like, what does it mean to be a producer anymore? Like, is it like the recognizable sound? Like, is it, to me, like, Zedd's instrumentation and his sound was so much more recognizable like a few years ago, but this track is just kind of like, oh, okay, well, it just sounds like another pop track.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good point to bring up as well, is we're used to producers having their own recognizable sound, and Zedd was so recognizable. He had that ticking clock in every one of his songs. Lido has that one chord progression. Porter even has some like noticeable vocal processes. Skrillex has his recognizable drums. But I mean, like when you get to a point where you're just releasing pop tracks to play on the radio, you don't need that sort of recognizable sound. You just need something palatable and able to be played on the radio, someone to be able to sing along to it. And like suddenly you're like, oh, I'm #1 on Billboard charts. Well,
yeah.
Good for you.
Like, I was thinking about this. Is Zedd just like a name now? Like, does the vocalist not even matter at this point anymore? It's just like Zedd, the producer.
Yeah.
Track.
I mean, I kind of feel the same way about Skrillex too. And, you know, he just put out a new song, his first completely solo song in like 5 years, which is really incredible. But, yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of these producers like Calvin Harris, like Skrillex, like Zedd, who are at the top of their game, are now sort of, you know, they're not taking any risks. They're
just getting outsourced.
They're getting outsourced. Yeah. But I mean, we've been talking a lot about safe tracks, and the next one we have is SLANDER. Let me preface this by saying SLANDER launched their own solo label called Heaven Sent. This is their solo label, separate from their collaborative label Good Vibrations with Nightmare. And they put out their own single as the debut track on the label, which is Hurt Sometimes. And that's with, I believe, Fairlane, and Jonathan Mendelsohn. And so first up, this is another safe track. This is SLANDER 1.0. This is like, oh, cool. Yeah, this is SLANDER. This is the SLANDER we know and love. But their song is an example of when safe doesn't always mean bad, because it's a quality song. Like I enjoy listening to it. It's just safe. It's not something like their Heaven Trap melodic sound. That genre in particular is a fairly safe genre because it doesn't really go anywhere. It has beautiful melodies and really kind of subtle drum work, and always a vocalist. Always the same sort of build up drop pattern where it's like some bright, beautiful piano chords and then like a shimmering little, melodic drop. And it's not a bad thing. People love that sound. It's just safe. But it is their new label. Maybe they just wanted to introduce some people to it. And I'm actually really, really expecting a lot from this label because I know the guys who working behind the scenes on it, and I know they have a great, great ear for music. So I have hope. Not to say that, this single dashes my hope, but again, just a lot of safe music this week.
Most definitely. And up next is an interesting, I guess, an interesting collab between Illenium and Tom DeLonge from Angels and Airwaves.
Yeah.
Formerly Blink-182. With Paper Thin, I believe is the track, right?
Yes, it is. Yes. And I think we're finally off the safe portion of our show. This isn't, yes and no. This song isn't, completely off the rails experimental, but God, it sounds like Illenium. Like when I first reviewed his last album, and I get all the names confused. It's Ashes Awake and something else. Give me one moment.
Ascend.
Yeah, no, Ascend is his last one, right? Yeah. So when I first reviewed Ascend, when it came out last year, I called it peak Illenium. It was going to be hard for him to go any further. He had reached his pinnacle. And I think now that we see him working with other artists, he did Nightlight, which was sort of a callback to his first album, which was Ashes. And then we get this brilliant collaboration, Paper Thin, with Tom DeLonge, which really brings out his pop punk side. And this is so good. I don't know if it's like the nostalgia of Tom DeLonge alone. Obviously, I love the drop from Illenium. But it's a quality song. and it's definitely going to be a favorite of people just because it's so easy to sing to Tom DeLonge. Like his vocal quality isn't something that anyone has to really not strive. They don't have to really stress for. They don't have to like have vocal training to sound like Tom DeLonge. And I think that's also really going to help like with the crowd interaction. But I mean, this is definitely a great track, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from Illenium because as the Chainsmokers did with their last two albums, Illenium added this song to a growing playlist with Nightlight. So since we've seen this already with Chainsmokers, we sort of know what's happening. He's building up an album. Mm-hmm. So he just signed to a new label called 12 Tone. And, you know, he's probably going to be dropping an album next year. I think the writing's on the wall. And I think he's been working on a lot of music in quarantine since he wasn't doing so many live streams. And I'm as always, I'm excited to hear some new Illenium music because in general, I like it.
Yeah, it's a good track.
Sorry, that was a long rant.
Oh, no worries. So Illenium, isn't he part of a super group with the Chainsmokers called like Good City Feeling or something? Or was that like a April Fool's joke? What?
That was my April Fool's article.
Oh my god. Did I actually fall for that and haven't like researched it? I thought that was for real anyways. But
Big City Dreamin'.
No, I thought that was for real. I didn't.
Oh my. Holy shit.
I wouldn't put it past
That's the first time I've heard. Neither would I. That's why I did it because
I thought that was for real, bro.
That's the first time I've gotten that out in the wild. Holy fuck.
God.
Thank you for that moment.
Dude, I thought it was like I remember seeing it and I thought it was on like Illenium's social or Chainsmokers social and I was like, oh, okay, whatever.
It was. They tweeted it out and were like, yo, Illenium, Big City Dreamin'.
That's so
like they
funny,
fucking
dude.
They saw my shit and were like, yo, let's fucking keep this going. Holy
Big
fuck.
City Dreamin'.
Oh my god.
I got like
I'm dead.
Like a year later, I guess. That was like last year, right?
That was like 2018.
Oh my god.
Maybe it was
You're
last
in it
year.
for the long haul, dude.
Holy shit. Okay. Damn. All right. I don't even. Whew. Okay. Thank you for that. Really, like genuinely. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries.
But I want to move on to our next.
Yeah.
I want to move on to our next topic. This Prototypes album, Prototypes, called 10,000 Feet and Rising. So, a lot of times when I get sent promos for tracks, EPs, albums, I get sent them like a day, maybe a week, maybe a month at most in advance. I have had this album since March. Like for the last 7 months, I've had this album open as a tab on my Chrome, and I have been listening to it religiously. And I have lost track of how many times I've listened to it. And without a doubt, it is one of my favorite albums of the year, possibly last few years, but invariably, it is the number one drum and bass album of this year, unless Pendulum decides to just surprise us with a full album by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But I just wrote yesterday 1,500 words on why this is one of the best albums of the year, and it would take me way too long to talk about it like that on this show, but it's just the way that they organize it's a incredible flow how they are able to subvert expectations, pull you back in with their core sound, and then throw you for a loop again. It's like, you know that scene in Jackass when they're running through the hallway filled with cattle prodders and punching bags, and they're just getting thrown around? Like, that's what this album sounds like, except the cattle prods are instead like fluffy gummy bears. Like, it feels good to get just like thrown around like a rag doll. I mean, maybe that's a little masochistic, but it just this album is such a cacophony of chaos in the absolute best way. It is like they took all of the lessons of drum and bass and just injected them all in one tight package. It's absolutely phenomenal. Like, I cannot say enough good things about it. You were listening to it before we started filming today, and you mentioned there's track Shadows.
It's so good. And like you said, it's so well produced. This is the thing, like the theme of the show is like safe music, and like it's all EDM is definitely changing at this point in time. And I'm not a huge drum and bass fan, but listening to this album was just such a breath of fresh air for me.
Yes.
Just listening to like a different genre. I mean, drum and bass has been around for so long, but I don't know, like for some reason this album was just like, whoa, like I could jam to this, I could work to this.
Yep.
It's so well done. And yes, Shadows is such a great track.
Yes.
Definitely take a listen to it and you'll get what I mean.
Absolutely. Yeah.
when you take a listen.
I mean, like, honestly, that's the best thing about this album is that you can listen, any of the songs are single worthy. You could pick out any song on this album and been like, oh, was that a single? Nope, but it could have been. And it's just a phenomenal listening experience from front to back. Even more so when you do listen to it front to back.
Most definitely.
But our last little bit of news song is it's this song called Mike Tyson by this group called Tiki Lao. And I've never heard of Tiki Lao before until I was pitched this song. And they're like, do you want to cover this? And I'm like, well, it's got Mike Tyson, so obviously. And that was before I even listened to it. And I listened to it, and it's just Mike Tyson going, I'm Mike Tyson. I'm Mike Tyson. I'm Mike Tyson. I'm motherfucking Mike Tyson. It's just that. And it's like a fucking dollar store trap beat. And how did they get Mike Tyson on this track?
They got the connects, man.
Yeah, I was talking about it with a group of friends of mine, and like it's got to be someone's cousin. Like, it's always a cousin, like twice removed, who was like, "Well, I sort of know Mike Tyson," and they hit him up and was like,
him for your track.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I don't really have much to say about this track other than what the fuck.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's a great, like, it's got a drop, it's got a trap beat.
It is a song.
Yeah.
It is a song.
I mean, we were talking about this earlier, man. I think people are running out of ideas.
Yeah.
In terms of
what are we gonna do? Let's see if Mike Tyson's available.
Let's put a bass drop trap drop thing here and call it a track, call it a day, and that's
wrap it up and done. Yeah,
send it out.
Yeah, it is what it is. But now I suppose we're moving on to new music we're listening to. I mean, we've already sort of been doing that, but as we said in the beginning, this is a music episode. So obviously
music edition.
So obviously we've already mentioned it, but Skrillex dropped a new track called Kliptown Empyrean, and I have no fucking idea what that is supposed to mean. I don't know.
It's artistic, bro.
It's yeah. I mean, Kliptown could be like a play on the words like clip and town, and like this is a bunch of clips that he had, and he da-da-da-da. And Empyrean just sounds like a Pokemon. So I don't. It's clipping Pokemon. This is Red versus Ash. I don't fucking know, man. But
what do you think? What do you think of the track?
I think it's good.
I'm curious.
I think it's a lot to do with Zedd. Like, I think we have to. I think we're being burdened by our expectations of Zedd. Like, we just had the 10-year anniversary of Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites, and I think we have to temper our expectations because we've seen from Skrillex time and time again over the last few years that he's not going to be producing that kind of music anymore, except for his show tracks EP like Mumbai Power. But I mean, that was really just some leftover stuff, and I think we have to come to terms with the fact that when Skrillex does drop this album, it might not be the album that any of us want. And I think the sooner we come to terms with that, the more we can appreciate whatever this album is for what it is. Kliptown Empyrean isn't. And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Kliptown Empyrean. If you haven't listened to it, definitely go check it out. I think it's only out on YouTube because that's the only place where I've seen it posted.
YouTube and SoundCloud.
I can't even name the genre. It's got a breakbeat in it, and it's just like that, like the entire way through, and it's got like crowd samples of like a schoolyard or something. I can't even tell like what it is.
I saw somewhere that he sampled something, and I can't remember what it is. But oh no, he sampled the Lizzie McGuire movie.
Oh, okay. Creative.
I'm double checking that. Yes, there's plenty of tweets saying, "Is that a Lizzie McGuire sample in the new Skrillex song? Sing it to me, Paolo."
Interesting.
Yeah, so I need to go back and listen to that. But yeah, he sampled the Lizzie McGuire movie for his new song.
So yeah,
which I think
is like tight Skrillex percussion. It's great. It's like this awesome breakbeat kind of thing that like you just want to groove to. And if this thing is like an indicator for what's to come, I'm actually kind of excited. I don't know what to expect at this point. Is it just going to be a bunch of collaboration kind of things like he's been doing with some of the recent tracks he's done, or is it going to be just like kind of curveballs like this?
I don't know. Either way, I'm about it. But moving on, we've got our new project from one of our favorites on the show, Blanke, and this project was really important to him. Blanke recently moved back to Australia for a little bit to visit family and go play some festivals. And when you visit Australia, you are required to take a COVID test and then quarantine by yourself in a hotel room for 2 weeks. And it is a guarded hotel room. You cannot leave your room. People can bring things to you. He had a whole studio set up in his room. He has some pictures on Instagram you can look at for his setup. It's quite elaborate, given that he can't leave. But it's called Project 1543, named after the room number of in the hotel he was in, and it was basically like an audio diary. It was something that he created that was masterful, and it was introspective. It's 14 days. It's one track a day. There's a full mix. It's only available on Bandcamp, and you can see the track. The album art is all his own doodles. Like it's just a very personal project of his, and almost all of them, except for apparently Day 9, are accompanied by a daily video diary. So this is, like you said, this project is a raw and unfiltered insight into a creative journey. No label, no feedback, no fresh air. Each day was a new idea, a new experiment, and a new emotion. A totally new experience through peaks and troughs allow me to access and express myself in my creativity freely. So if we're talking about safe this episode, that is the exact fucking opposite. So definitely go stream that. We'll have a link in the description below. But to wrap things up, we've got If You Never Loved Me by Kalina Zanders and Autograph. Remember Kalina Zanders from our Black Lives Matter episode with Blackjack. And is this track, I know Autograph just released their album Ace of You. Is this off that album?
I didn't check. I just I noticed that this track was on there and just wanted to give a huge shout out to Kalina Zanders. because her vocals are amazing in this track, actually.
Well, yes, we know that for sure. But
Yeah,
yes, this is the opening track of the Ace of You, the new album from Autograph. And this is also another album that we've been waiting for a while. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet. I'm sure someone on his management will be hitting me up shortly about it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I honestly haven't listened to this one yet. But it's, again, like, if it has Kalina Xanders, I'm already pretty much sold because of just how good she is as a vocalist. Another friend of mine sent me a track of hers that is never being released, and I hate to tease the show about this, but it was a remix of a very popular, very explicit song that is popular on TikTok, and it's amazing. I can't say anything more than that, but it's never going to be released, sadly. But yeah, so Kalina Xanders, always a pleasure hearing her on a track. She is always a breath of fresh air, especially in a world that is playing it so damn safe. You can check out all these tracks and more in the EDM Matters Spotify Weekly Picks playlist. But that does it for EDM Chatters. I hope you enjoyed our ramblings and maybe learned a thing or two. Please don't forget to like and comment on this video and subscribe to our channel if you want more exciting EDM content from us. We will see you in the next one. Peace out.
See you guys.